One of the most common types of content that VTubers and streamers make is gaming content. It's a very simple content type and a lot of people enjoy it, and most of the internet is kind of based around kind of gaming culture, you know. But that comes with a kind of double-edged sword in that there's so many types of games and there's so many games out there, and when you want to make content on a certain type of game, it can be pretty difficult to choose what game you want to play, and it can be pretty frustrating because you just want to stream, you don't want to really think about like, oh no, what should I do, and it kind of wastes a bit of time. So today, as someone who has experienced this kind of issue throughout my streaming career, I want to share some options you might want to consider based on what your goals are as a content creator. Now, option one is to choose a game that you enjoy playing. Now, I chose this as option one because I think people kind of brush it away because you can't always do the things you like and expect it to go well all the time. But I think it is important because it makes it a lot easier to sustain playing that game for like many streams or for many hours, and it's just harder to burn out if you play something that you genuinely like instead of like some random game that you just want to farm views on. And sometimes people can tell, they can tell if you're enjoying the game or not, and people will also like enjoy watching someone enjoy a game. It's probably why a lot of people like gaming content in general, because they like watching people have fun. Of course, there are some downsides to this. Number one is you kind of have to get lucky. If it's not a game that pulls a lot of viewers in, you're just gonna be alone for like 3 hours just talking to yourself. If you're fine with that, if the game is that fun for you that you don't mind having like no viewers, then I think just go for it. Yeah, another thing is that if you have a previously built up kind of content brand of like what type of content that you make in terms of gaming, like if you only do RPG games but you secretly like horror games, and then you suddenly start playing horror games, it's gonna make a very jarring difference in your kind of viewers, because most of your viewers came for you to watch RPG gameplay. So for people who just want to stream content just for fun and not really worry about, getting successful or getting popularity, I think this is a pretty solid option. I know it's a solid option for me because, I'm definitely not going for the success that a lot of people kind of envision. I just like playing video games, and streaming forces me to kind of play it, because otherwise I just don't play it and I just sit down and just do nothing all day. Anywho, let's go on to another option. Another option is to stream a game that you are good at or you have a lot of experience in. Now, this is a very kind of convenient option, because if you already know a game very well, you kind of know what's interesting about the game, so you can kind of use that knowledge to make your stream more interesting, because you already know what's interesting to you. And also, people like watching people who like succeed and like are good at games. Like in the past, you would have people watching Technoblade, rest in peace by the way. People would watch Technoblade because he was very good at Minecraft. And Dream, although it's a pretty taboo topic, but Dream, yes, he was good at Minecraft. People really liked watching it. And I think also, if you play video games that you're good at and then most likely you already kind of know the community, and if there's people in chat that kind of want to talk about the game, you kind of understand them, and it's like you already have this bond with a community that you haven't really interacted with. There are some downsides though. Doing this, if you have any experience with doing like one thing and like getting good at that one thing for a long time, it can be very difficult to kind of just find new ways to kind of keep it interesting, because certain games don't always put up updates, so you're kind of just stuck in like reusing the same kind of content and trying to like recycle stuff. And also, this kind of another limiting thing about this option is that if you're not good at video games, like for example me, I'm not very good at video games, If you're not very good at video games, then it's kind of hard. Or I mean, you can definitely get better at video games, but you kind of have to have this commitment to wanting to be good and make it like a big part of your values. Because if you just like wanting to play games for fun, then you're probably not going to be focusing on the best strategies or the meta or being like the best Osu player or whatever, because you just want to play. And a lot of people who like watching good players mainly come for that kind of information so they can also get better at the game or, you know, understand it better. So yeah, if you're the type of person who is pretty skilled at video games and you just like being good at video games and kind of dominating the leaderboards, then this is definitely a solid option. Now the third option, I think this is one that not many people really talk about, but it definitely exists because I know it very well. It's choosing a niche game. And what I mean by niche game is kind of like a game that has a kind of small fan base or community, but they're like very dedicated to it. For example, Toho Project, literally the character I'm cosplaying, sort of, is a very niche game. Any kind of indie game like Undertale or Omori or any game that kind of has its own community, but it's definitely not super popular. And I think the reason why this is a solid option sometimes is because when you stream these types of games, you're very much bound to have viewers. And I noticed because I stream certain niche games like Toho, of course, and also Project Sekai. I stream Project Sekai, and those games are actually two games that get me the most viewers and chatters in general, because, you know, there is a community and they really love the game. And if they see someone play it, they're just gonna watch it because they're starving for like content, I think. And also people who are in these kind of niche communities are pretty kind of tame in a sense. I mean, of course, there's definitely communities with weird people that you should avoid those type of people. But in general, there's a lot of kind of based people that will like not really judge you for a lot of things because, I don't know, maybe they're veterans and they've seen a lot. So there's nothing really new that they could, you know, judge you for. And that comes to the disadvantages of this, is that if you stream niche games, your viewers might be like mostly veterans or at least people who are very knowledgeable at the game. And if you don't really know that niche game very well, it can kind of feel disconnected because a lot of games have their own terminology. Like if you play Toho, there's 1cc or like no bomb or like grazing. If you don't really know that terminology from the start, you're kind of like, I don't really know what you guys are talking about. You kind of explain, and of course, in that point, you can ask them, and then you get educated. But sometimes it can be kind of disconnecting because you feel like you're kind of like a foreigner to this already established community, and you also might feel like you don't really live up to their expectations because a lot of these people have seen a lot of good players and they might be really good players themselves. So in a sense, you might kind of feel this sort of expectation that you'll also have to be good because all of your viewers are also good and knowledgeable. So yeah, for the type of content style, I would definitely say if you like playing indie games or like interacting with smaller communities and like building a kind of smaller fan base around this like cult-like following of another game, I think this is definitely an option you would choose. Now lastly, this is probably the most controversial one, or I guess the most talked about, is choosing the trendy or very popular well-known games. And this is of course a good choice for many reasons. Number one, you know it's a safe option because there's a lot of people who have already done it, and you know there is a large audience, and you know there are definitely people that might watch you. And also it makes you feel like you're in with it. Like you're not just falling behind and like living like the elders, and like the kids these days, man, they're doing this and doing that, they're playing this. And of course it's kind of inevitable because that's how generations work, but it does feel nice if you feel like you're kind of living in the present day, with present day games, present day cultures. And yeah, obviously though, there are cons of this. The biggest one, the market is very oversaturated typically for these types of games. I mean, this is pretty obvious because there's a lot of people playing it. There's already going to be a lot of other people playing it that already know how to play the game, and like you kind of wonder like, why would people watch me when there's there's a lot of other more interesting creators playing the same game, you know? So you kind of have that, and it makes it very hard to kind of reach people or get on the discovery on Twitch. Especially Twitch has not very good discovery, and if you play very popular games like Minecraft or like Fortnite, you probably won't be able to get a consistent amount of viewership because there's so many other streamers who play the game that are so well established. It's kind of like already like trampled territory a million times. You kind of don't know where to add anything. And also these games they can be very volatile. Like trends don't last all year. They don't last. Sometimes they do, but most of the time a game is kind of like trending for like a month, and afterwards no one kind of cares about it because they're on to the new one. So it can be kind of hard to keep track of like, when is it still fresh, or am I starting this at the quote-unquote right time? And that might make you kind of confused on where you should like start. And also these games do cost money, and if you don't get the investment that you initially put in because there's already a new game and the game you invested in already kind of died, then you're kind of just stuck with this like empty corpse of something that you put your money and time in and you just didn't really get much. So yeah, but I would say this type of thing is, I think you can do it, definitely. You just have to really know how to do it. Like a content creator guru, I definitely know I'm not one. I'm just kind of like a lost voice that's just kind of, you know, talking about my point of view as just kind of an internet enjoyer, not necessarily someone who is trying to be a big creator. But if you want to be a big creator, I would think it's definitely worth investigating how you can kind of incorporate these popular and trendy games while still not getting like burnt out. So yeah, overall there is a lot of options. If we go over them, there's choosing something you like, choosing something you're good at, choosing a niche game, and choosing a trending game. Technically, these options are not mutually exclusive, so they can definitely overlap. You can have a game that is trending, that you do like, that you are good at, and is a niche game. Well, actually no, I think niche game kind of contradicts with the popular one. But you can have like 3 of them at the same time. So maybe if you kind of find games that have more of that overlap, you can kind of figure out which ones you can rule out or which ones you would probably want to consider. And in general, I think most of the good results or good content mainly comes from what you do with your kind of choices that you make. Not necessarily the choice, because a lot of people become successful because they just pick one option and they kind of make it work. They kind of make it work for them, and because of that, they kind of make any option the right option. There's pretty much no wrong option. There's only one right option, and that's kind of making your option the best. But I mean, of course, you can always change your mind. I just think it's definitely worth it to kind of test things out and see what kind of options you might want to consider. Anywho, yeah, that is another Kiyo video. I've been recently kind of trying to think of other video ideas that may have to do with the internet or VTubing, or I guess otaku culture in general. It's been kind of tough, but I'm still trying, and I hope, I can still make something that has some value to it. And yeah, thank you for watching the video.